Welcome to the second part of a tutorial about the monarch gear. So now I'm going to speak about the horns. So first of all, let's explain what everything does one by one. So this one, it increases the march speed to monsters. So when you are going to attack a monster, it reduces the timer that for the march, so you reach the monster faster. This one is quite a similar one. It reduces the march speed, but this reduces the march speed for nearly everything. So it does reduce the march speed toward monsters, but it's not very beneficial because this one, for the same level, both are level 6. So this one, it gives me 66% reduction, while this only gives me 33% time reduction. So it's not very beneficial for monsters. However, this one is the only one that works with, for example, marches toward enemy cities or allied cities, or marches toward, let's say, towards relics or resource tiles. So I will use this one to reduce these marches by 33%. This one increases the troop load, so it gives you the ability to carry more with the same amount of troops. This is useful when you are going to gather resources from cities, from tiles or from relics. And it is also useful when you are going to empty an enemy city. So once you have cleared an enemy city from all defenses, you use the troop load to increase the carrying capacity so you can steal all the resources much faster. And the last one, it's march size capacity, so it just increases the number of troops you can send by this amount. So I will start with the simplest one, which is this one. So as you can see, for example, if I want to attack this monster, all I can send as the maximum I can send. No, excuse me, it's already in place, so I must to remove it first. It hasn't been removed. Must remove it first. Okay, so if I want to attack this monster, all I can send is 463,000. So now, if I put this back, I can send 10k more. So instead of 4,063, I can send 473,000. So it increases it by 10k. So this is a quite obvious one. This one reduces the speed when attacking monsters, as I said, but there is something very important to know about it. First of all, let's suppose I want to attack this monster, which is 30 seconds away. So, if I go and change my gear, it will only take me 28 seconds to reach it. So I'm going to look for a farther monster so the effect is obvious. So let's say I want to attack this one. So it will normally take me 1 minute and 26 seconds with the gear, and without the gear it would take me more. So it will take me 1 minute and 39. So I get 126 instead of 139. So what I do, I go and apply this, and not a resource, the monster. Was it this one or this one? Doesn't matter. So I send my general. It will take me 1 minute and 30 seconds to arrive. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to speed it up. So normally it's 1 minute and 30 seconds. And let's suppose I have changed this meanwhile. This will not change at all. It will remain the same. What remains will remain constant. However, if this is changed and the monster is attacked and my troops are going back, notice what will happen. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds. It's not longer 1 minute and 30 seconds. So this is because this is a new timer. And as I said, the gears apply as long as the timers are still going. But if it's new timer, you need to apply the gear again to take benefit from it. So since I have changed this before attacking the monster, the new timer for the return trip is a bit longer. It's as though I have never applied this one. So this need to be applied before departing from the city and right before attacking the monster for the return trip. So now, let's speed it up again. Let's wait a little bit. Let's attack this one. Come on, hurry up. It's taking some time. Okay, it should be back anytime. Okay, so let's say I want to attack this one. So normally it would take me 46 seconds. Oh, with the gear applied. So without the gear, normally it would take me more. It would take me 53. So I get 46 instead of 33. So I apply it. I attack. It's only 46 now. The timer has started. It will never change again, so I can change it to whatever I want. It doesn't really matter. The timer will continue. Actually, we'll wait for this one. It doesn't take a lot of time. I'm not gonna waste another speed up for this one. So you agree that we have changed it to something else, but this time, before reaching the monster, before this timer finishes, I'm going to put it back. And I got again about 46 seconds in the return march. So as long as you put it back before killing the monster, the effect will take place. You can change it meanwhile, it doesn't matter, or you can keep it if you don't need anything else from these other buffs. If you don't need the other buffs, you can keep it, it doesn't matter. But as long as it's back in place before the return trip will also be shorter. The same applies for the march speed, so there's always the first trip to go toward the relic or the enemy city or the resource tile, so you need to apply it before leaving the city for the time to be shorter, and before attacking the enemy city or before you are done clearing the tile or the relic. If you apply it again before that, you will benefit from a shorter return trip also. So what goes for this goes exactly for this. Now let's see how we can take advantage of those. So the first thing, I don't know if I said already or not, the first thing to understand is that this one and this one are mutually exclusive. I cannot benefit from them at the same time. Why? Because the three of them need to be applied before leaving the city. So I can either use this one or this one or this one. However, I can use this one to increase the march capacity. And let's just do it. So as if you remember, I could only send 465 before, and now I can send for 473. It was 463 and now I can set 473. So if I start a march, I benefited from this one, but I could not benefit from this one, from the speed to monster, because if had I used this one, I would have not been able to use this one. However, now that the troops have left the city, I can switch it back to this one. And now what will happen is that the amount of troops will remain unchanged because they already left the city. So it's still 473. But now On the return trip, the timer will be shorter because I put this one. So I didn't check for the timer when I started, but it doesn't matter. You can take my word for it. The return trip will be shorter than the first trip. So this is one way to exploit this one along with this one, or this one along with this one. So since they are mutually exclusive when you leave the city, that doesn't mean that you can't use them when you are going back. So now let's move to another part. Let's wait for the troops to return to explain another thing. So have they returned yet? 10 seconds. So now let's suppose I'm going to attack a monster, and at the same time I'm going to gather from a relic. So what we do? Well, it's quite simple. I start the attack before I put it on the march speed to monsters. I start my attack. And now I put it on the normal march speed. And I start going to my relic. That will reduce the speed. And now, since this timer has already started and will not change, I can go back and put this one back to march speed to monster. So when Li Jing attacks the monster, he will benefit from the time reduction on the return trip. Meanwhile, Lucy is still benefiting from the march speed. So this is how you can exploit and take advantage of these two together. Now let's return both of them to the city. So this is quite simple to understand. Now the hardest one to understand is how to take advantage of this one along with the timers, or this one. Well, I'll just use this one along with this one, and I will not talk about the rest of how I won't say how to exploit this one with this one or this one, because the same principle applies. What I will teach you with these two ones, you can apply it with this one and the two other ones. So, okay, they have returned. So now, let's suppose I want to gather from here. And I have nothing applied. Okay, great. So I want to gather from here. So normally it would take me 58k troops to clear the tile. So if I use this one, I would only need 49k instead of 58k. But if I start my march right now, I will not benefit from the march speed. So right now I have it at 18 seconds. So what I do generally is the following. So if I put the march instead of 80 seconds, it will become, well, it's quite close, so there's no big difference. Oh, no, I put the wrong march one. So yeah, it's 70 seconds instead of 80. It's quite close, so there's no big difference, but if the tile is very far away, it becomes very important. So now let's suppose I want to take advantage of these two at the same time. So what I would do is put this one first, go to my city, and go to the tile, and now I need only 49k. So what I would do is copy that number or memorize it, go back, change this to march speed, and now I'm going to change this number back to the previous number. It's lower, so normally it won't gather anything, it won't gather the same amount, but it actually doesn't matter, because once I started the march, I go ahead, and what I do, I put this back before entering the tile, and it will take effect. So let's wait for it to enter the tile, and you will see that it takes effect, even though I sent a lower troops of lower number of troops, it still applies. So now if I go into details, the tile has this much, and I can gather this much. So I can gather all what the tiles has, or even a little bit more. So well, I can't actually gather a little bit more, but you know what I mean. This number is bigger, this one. So This way I took advantage of this one along with this one. So this allows me to send lesser troops to tiles. This is very useful, especially if there are some people who are rogue on the server and you are afraid that your troops get hit. So you want to send lesser number of troops, so if in the case they are hit you don't have to heal a lot. This is also very useful for new players who don't have a lot of troops and who want to send 3 or 4 marches governing at the same time. They can use this trick to increase the capacity of the march, while to increase the troop loads, excuse me, while at the same time benefiting from the troop march. So for example, I'm not going to do it, but I'll just show you. For example, if I wanted to gather from this, let's say, this far away tile, let's say this one, for example, if I wanted to gather from this one, normally it would take me 2 minutes and 57 seconds to reach it. And this much, excuse me, I have to change it to something else first. So normally it would take me, well, Lucy's back now, so Lucy's taking the lead. Okay, so it would take Lucy 3 minutes and 28 seconds with this much troops. 3 minutes and 28 with this much troops. So what I would do is I use this. Now it takes lesser troops, it's only 8k. I copy this. I go back, I change it to this. And now the timer is reduced. It's only 3 minutes and 7 seconds. I put back the previous number. And I can just send and Lucy will reach the tile, and before reaching the tile, so the timer will start shorter, only 3 minutes, and before Lucy reaches the tile I go and change it back to this one, so I can take advantage of it and I can exploit and I can empty the whole tile. So this is the second way of how this is the way of how to take advantage of this one and this one at the same time. Well, for this one you don't need to use it with the march speed to monsters because generally there is nothing to gather from monsters. But you can use this one along with this one also when you are attacking enemy cities, but generally it's not very useful because generally if you are going to attack an enemy city you are just going to teleport right next to it. So the march speed is already at a minimum. So this is very useful only when going to relics or going to tiles. So, for example, if I wanted to go to a relic, and in relics the difference is huge in relic. I will show you how huge is the difference. So, for example, the relic, because relic generally are very far away, and at the same time they require a lot of troops. So for example, if I wanted to explore this relic, it would take me four I don't know what to set. Let's remove it first. Normally it would take me 473k troops and 19 minutes. So if I do this instead of 473k, I will only need, oops, I did a mistake, excuse me. So let's go back. So normally this was the maximum I could send actually. Normally, let's say I want to gather for exactly 1 day or more or less 1 day. Let's try to set it on 1 day. It's not easy. Okay, oops. Yeah, like this. So normally for about 1 day it will take me 112k troops for 90 minutes to reach there. 109k, 112k and 90 minutes. So I do this, I put this one, and now I go back to explore, and now for 1 day, instead of 112k, oh come on, doesn't want to get on 1 day, come on, okay. It doesn't want to set on 1 day for some reason. I'll reduce manually, so maybe it would be like this, I don't know. No, still lesser. Yeah. So now it will only take 95k instead of 112k of troops, and still 19 minutes. So what I would do is copy that number. I didn't copy that number, go back, change it to speed the march, and now instead of 90 minutes it will be only 16 minutes, and I go and put that number, and I would start my march. And once I'm about to enter the tile, or as soon as the march starts, it doesn't matter, I can put this back to all troops load, and that will increase it. So this needs to be applied when entering the tile. It doesn't need to be applied when you start the march. So I think this concludes everything about these four. So the last thing I would like to show you is how to put all we have seen so far together. So let's suppose, for instance, I want to attack a monster that's quite far away. Let's look for a monster that's quite far away. Let's say I want to attack this monster, for example. So what I would do is go and select the march speed to monsters to increase the march speed. And then I would go and send my general to attack it. This way I have the march speed reduced. So I start it, and now let's suppose I want to gather resources from tiles that are far away, like this one for example. So what I would do is I go here and put the all troops load to increase the troops load, and so this is what I will need to empty the tile. I copy that number, I go, I change it to march speed, and I paste back the reduced number, and now I start with the march speed buff. Now suppose, it's taken some time, I don't know why. Now suppose I want also to gather from, let's say, for example, this tile. What was the first tile? It's iron. So let's suppose I want to gather from this tile. So I do the same thing. I go first and put the all troops load. I copy the number of troops required to clear the tile. I go and put march speed. To reduce the march speed, I send, and I paste back the reduced number. And now it's all a game of waiting. So this general is about to arrive to the monster. So he needs to have the march speed to monster in place so that when he kills the monster, the return trip is shorter. But wait, this one is actually about to arrive first. So I need to put all troop load and iron, since I'm gonna gather from iron. So this is the first one which is gonna to arrive. So now it has arrived. So now since I have our gathering speed up, so it will gather faster, and as you can see I can gather everything that there is because I put the all troop loads. Now this one is about to arrive, so I need to change that, no, not that fast to that, to march speed monster. So when the attack is done, the return trip is also short. And here we are, it's going away. So now this is about to arrive, so I just can go and put this back to all troops load. So when it arrives, it is at full load, at full capacity, and it can gather everything that there is in the tile. And now I go back and change this to lumber gathering speed, so when it arrives it can gather lumber faster. And now we just wait for it to arrive. So 10 more seconds to go. Okay, now it has arrived. So yeah, it started gathering. So as you can see, I can have everything. I can gather everything thanks to the troop load. Now I can change back this to whatever I want. For example, I put it back to this. It doesn't matter anymore. But what is important actually is to put this back to one of the production boosts in the city, because as I said in the previous video, production boosts work as long as they are in place. If they are not in place, they will not work. You will not have an increase in boost. So for example, if I want to increase the production of ore in my city, I would go and choose this one and put it back, and I will leave it. I will not change it unless I need to go and gather some resources from the map. So now I'm just going to recall all my troops because I don't need to gather all that actually. Well, I did a mistake. Now I have one of the troops that is returning with a long time to return, because I should have chosen march speeds before recalling the troop. It doesn't matter. So now I'm just calling back this one too. It will get a shorter time, as you can see. And that's all. So this concludes the second part of the tutorial, where I have explained to you how to use the horns properly and combine them together, or combine them with crystals to achieve desired results. So in this video and the previous video, we covered the crowns, the horns, and the crystals, and in the next video I will cover the staffs that increase attack, and the graves that increase HP, and the thunder the decorations that increase defense. So I hope it was clear, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. The next video should be available very soon, and you will find a link for it at the bottom of this video. So go check it.